Hello folks, and welcome to some more Diablo 3 action here. This time, again, as part of the Season's Journey, the Guardian tab, we're going for Flawless Victory, complete 3 conquests in a season, which requires us to finish, any 3 of these, and I feel Gears of War is where I want to be, so I've done all of the Demon Hunter sets, and I have a Wizard. So it seems like the wizard sets are going to be the next easiest ones to do, or the most sensible ones to do. So today I'm going to be doing the Delsere's Magnum Opus, and I haven't decided on the other one yet. I may do Firebirds, just because, it's been a while since I've done Firebirds, but if I decide that Firebirds sucks, I may do something else. So yeah, so I'm going to be doing the DMO today. Delsere's Magnum Opus. And just for any of you who are in the know, as of me recording this, the build I'm using is not the current hotness. I'm doing the Arcane Orb version of this build. I am aware that there is a version that is currently pushing higher that runs Arcane Torrent and Energy Twister. But this is the build that I'm currently geared for, and I haven't really researched into that one yet. However, last night, after spending a bunch of resources over like a week, I finally rolled an Ancient Twisted Sword. It's not particularly good, but it is an Ancient Twisted Sword, so in the future I may be giving that setup a go and, reporting back. But for now, let's take a look at Delsere's Magnum Opus. So, the 2-piece of the set gives us casting Arcane Orb, Energy Twister, Explosive Blast, Magic Missile, Shock Pulse, Spectral Blade, or Wave of Force reduces the cooldown of slow time by 2 seconds. Okay, cool. So for one thing, this doesn't even have to hit, right? Like, boom, pop a bubble, dun, 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 pop another bubble. That's sweet. Okay, that's pretty cool. Because slow time has some really sweet abilities tied into it. It slows the enemy, it can reduce their damage, it can increase the damage you do, increase attack speed. So yeah, that's awesome, right? All for it. 4-piece, you take 50% reduced damage while inside your bubble. Allies gain half benefit. Sweet! Right? Like just 50% damage reduction for, just being inside the bubble? Okay, cool. So, we could tie this to the fact that we don't have to hit with this and, pop a bubble at dude over there, pop a bubble under us, and do our damage like that, or we could just be inside the self-same bubble and be sort of a melee attacker. So the 6-piece set. Enemies affected by your slow time, so inside your bubble, take 2,000% more damage from your Arcane Orb, Energy Twister, Explosive Blast, Magic Missile, Shock Pulse, Spectral Blade, and Wave of Force abilities. Okay, alright, so we've decided that if we're going to use this set, we're going to use some of these skills. Okay. Well, as it turns out, several of these skills, like Spectral Blade and Explosive Blast, I can't believe I blanked on that. Anyway, an Explosive Blast, for instance, are melee anyway, so yeah, we're probably going to be in melee range a lot. So the damage reduction matters, like, super much then. Alright, cool. So, if we use Arcane Orb, Arcane Orbit, this gives us another thing we can do. Another thing we can do in melee range that deals out a bunch of damage. I don't remember if it's exactly 30%, but it seems to happen pretty frequently. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. So, Arcane Orbit also fits into our melee build idea. So, like, we're getting the shell of a melee attack going. So, since we're in melee range, right, and our skills are melee, well, we don't want to have to be, like, stuck walking around all the time. So, how about teleport? And Safe Passage lets us have, like, a good amount of defense to go with it. Cool. Alright. This all is starting to fit together. The thing that's somewhat less obvious is what armor to use. Until you remember the Halo of Arlyse. This was Season 2, I believe it was, that they rolled this thing out, and it's been basically must-use ever since. This damage reduction, right? Your ice armor now reduces damage from melee attacks by 53, that's 50 to 60%, and automatically casts Frost Nova whenever you take 10% of your life in damage. Even just by itself, that's a huge amount of damage reduction, especially tied with Crystallize Rune of Ice armor. When you are struck by a melee attack, your armor is increased by 20%. Because of the way damage reduction works in this game, because wizards natively have such high resistance, increasing your armor is a huge boon to your defensiveness, to your overall toughness. So extra 20% armor is amazing. And then boosting that up further, it's incredible. But what really sets it off is the Ancient Parthan Defenders. Now, it says each stunned enemy within 25 yards reduces your damage taken by 9%. It's 9 to 12%. In the parlance of the game, and the way the game is coded, an enemy that is frozen counts as an enemy that is stunned for this. So, Frost Nova freezes enemies. Ancient Parthan Defenders gives us up to 12% damage reduction per enemy. There is no limit to this, to the buff you can get from this. So, what we have to come up with now is a good basis for a melee wizard that is supremely defensive, as long as you take advantage and understand how these work. Now, with not this patch, not 2.4, but 2.3, Blizzard changed the way crowd control works, so that the Frost Nova here, the more times it hits a monster, the less effective it is. So, what we have to do now is we have to be more mobile. So that puts even more focus on teleport. Enter in Illusionist as a passive. Alright? When you take more than 15% of your maximum life in damage, so anytime this happens, it will also proc your the Frost Nova from Halo of Arlyse. The cooldowns on Mirror Image, Slow Time, and Teleport are reset. They're completely, no matter if you just cast it, boom, you can cast it again. You also get a movement speed increase from this, which is, cool. Not going to turn it down. But yeah, so we're now at a point, you see, where we basically can just bounce around as long as we're tough enough to take a hit and not die. A hit that's strong enough, and leverage our immense defensive power to just, have our way with the monsters. So, enough kind of going over the idea. How do we have our way with the monsters? Okay, we use Spectral Blade, which again, going back to the DMO thing, this reduces cooldown of our slow time bubbles. So the big thing about Spectral Blade is we want to use Barrier Blades because with each cast we gain a protective shield for 3 seconds that absorbs 4% of your life and damage. Okay, so 4% of your total life. This is it's not really lifesteal, but it approximates lifesteal pretty well. And there's a little bit of range on the thing, but not much. The damage is not great, but it has a heck of a utility. Okay, but since we're already... since we're getting something from this, we can aim to get more out of it. So we run with Arcane Dynamo. When you cast a signature spell, you gain a flash of insight. After 5 flashes of insight, your next non-signature spell deals 60% additional damage. There's a little tooltip down here to remind you what your signature spells are, but they're also your primary spells. Primary, signature. For any class, they mean the same thing. Okay. So we've kind of got that wrapped up. Alright? So we want to decide what our secondary skill is. We go with Arcane Orb because of 2 items from this patch. Unstable Scepter. Arcane Orb's explosion triggers an additional time. That just means double the damage. I mean, that's what it means. Each time you would deal an instance of damage, you deal double that instance of damage. So, that's ridiculous. Triumvirate is not... It's not from this patch, but it has been reworked. Your signature spells increase the damage of Arcane Orb by up to 200%. It's 150 to 200% for 6 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. So cool. So if we do 3 times, we get plus this bonus, times 3. If we do up to 5 times, we get the 60%. It's 60%, right? Yeah, 60% bonus from Arcane Dynamo on top of that. Awesome. So we're talking huge amounts of damage now. So that is why we're using Arcane Orb with this particular setup. Alright, now, our next skill is Explosive Blast. Again, remember from DMO that Explosive Blast counts for both the reduction of cooldown and for the taking of extra damage. But the real reason we use Explosive Blast is because of Orb of Infinite Depth. Again, another item added in this patch. In 2.4, that is. Each time you hit an enemy with Explosive Blast, your damage is increased by 5%, and your damage reduction is increased by 15% for 6 seconds. This effect can stack up to 4 times. That's 20% damage increase, and 60% damage reduction. Just for pressing the button. Now, the reason we use Chain Reaction is to get this stack up as quickly as possible. I mean, we don't want to have to use a different rune, because Explosive Blast has a cooldown. It's the only cooldown we're running, really, because these two sort of don't count because we're trying to leverage Illusionist. So we want Chain Reaction just because it does 3 attacks. And so you can stack very handily off of it. Alright, next up, Teleport. I mean, I don't think there's anything here you would rather have than Safe Passage, just because of, again, damage reduction. You are a melee wizard. You are going to get hit a lot, and it's going to hurt. If you're running low stuff, I guess you could run Wormhole, but you should just run another build if you're running, stuff that's low enough that you don't really need the toughness. Now, slow time, more toughness, we're running Exhaustion. You could run Time Warp for more damage, again, if you feel like you've got plenty of toughness, and that's not a problem. Stretch time is not really, it's okay. It's not really for solo, though. Point of no return, not really what we're looking for. Time Shell, no. So it's really just either of these two, and Exhaustion, especially when you're pushing higher, is the one you want to do. Ice Armor, Crystallize really is just the best option. That 20% armor is amazing, and it stacks up to 3 times, so it's up to 60% armor. Because, I mean, generally speaking, when you get hit once, you're probably going to get hit more than once. with the way this works, because you do want to round up density to some extent. Yeah, none of the rest of these really do anything for you. Alright, so going over passives here quickly. We do Audacity because, again, we're melee, so 30% multiplicative damage for free? Yes, please. Arcane Dynamo we went over. We're just leveraging our primary skill for more damage. Illusionist, getting, the damage and the toughness from slow time and teleport, as well as the maneuverability. And this slot is a little bit flexible. I'm running Unwavering Will because, look, I'm only doing a 55 here. Like, I'm not expecting to need Unstable Anomaly, which is your other option. But for pushing, like, way higher, this kind of prevents you from being one-shot. This makes you a lot tougher. Like, again, the 20% armor, 20% resistance is super, super good for your toughness. But, and 10% damage is nothing to sneeze at either. But Unstable Anomaly will probably be more consistent in helping you stay alive. So yeah, that kind of covers the skills. We'll go back over the rest of the gear here. If I can avoid hitting the wrong buttons. So again, whole DMO set. To go with that, we have the Shame of Delsere, whichever it is. Your signature spells attack 50% faster. Sweet, that means we get our cooldowns down faster. And restore 12 arcane power. Okay, well that's great, because it means we can spend our 2 spenders more often. Now, Arcane Orb, you may think, well, it lasts a while. Yes, but you use up the orbs, so you need to recast it pretty often. So having this rebuild of arcane power is great. And it also works with the Aquila Cuirass in our cube to keep us over 90% primary resource, so we can have an additional 50% damage reduction. We really want toughness. Okay. Ancient Parthan Defenders, again, and Halo of Arlyse I've gone over, but just to make sure. We run Crystallize, we get hit, it procs our Halo of Arlyse, which freezes everything around us, which procs our Ancient Parthan Defenders, which gives us amazing toughness. Sweet. Now, I've talked about Unstable Scepter and Triumvirate, and kind of what they do for us. They just boost our Arcane Orb. The other thing we're running, also reworked into patch 2.4, is the Endless Walk set. The Traveler's Pledge and the Compass Rose. While moving, damage taken is reduced by up to 50%. Now note that it does not start at 50%, it climbs up to 50%. Okay, well cool, that's alright. While standing still, damage dealt is increased by up to 100%. Again, note, it does not start at 100%, it climbs to 100%. Which also means that you can have them both going at the same time, and you don't immediately lose them completely when you go from one state to the other. I really like the way they did this. This is very, very cool. So you're staying here, you're dealing your damage, and then you're like, okay, it's time to walk, and we get a little extra toughness. Okay, it's time to fight, and boom. We're back to 100%. It's very fluid and it's very nice, and it's also a ton of extra damage. He'll be getting free loot soon. So yeah, I think that kind of covers. Oh, poor Canadians and their funny money. It's not my fault Zimbabwe is laughing at you. Anyway, so that kind of goes over, the gear. Now, as far as what you want on your roll-wise, Int, Vit, Crit on the hat. You could roll Arcane Orb on the hat, but Vitality is better because, you heal yourself. So having more life is mo better. Dash on your shoulders here. Int, Vit, Life is probably best. You could go int vit armor, but no matter what, you want area damage. Because of the way Arcane Orb explodes, it you really want area damage because you want to maximize these explosions, which are, again, doubled and multiplied by many numbers. Large, just, 11 billion numbers. On the gauntlets, you, again, would probably like area damage. But that it can be hard to have crit area damage roll natively on your clubs. Or, close to natively anyway. So sometimes we have to deal with what we have when we are actually Demon Hunter players. Just switching over to Wiz. For the chest, int vit armor is probably best. I guess you could go life or elite reduction. Either would probably be okay, but armor is probably more consistent as a toughness modifier. For the Shame of Delsere, I would rather have int vit % life and armor, but it is the only one I've seen that was, it's the only one I've seen actually, and yeah, it did not roll well. Pants, normal toughness. Since we are an intelligence class, we want armor on our pants. Again, if we were not an intelligence class, we would want all res on our pants because of, the proportionality of the modifiers of the damage reduction. And on boots, int, vit, armor, Arcane Orb. You definitely want Arcane Orb here, and these are not exactly the rolls you want, but the affixes you want. Here, on the amulet, we would like Arcane, double crit, and a socket. So, Arcane, int, and 1 crit is, it's alright, but it's not as good as we would like. The Compass Rose. This is not ideal, these rolls are, but it is really hard to get a Compass Rose rolled the way you want it. Int, crit, chance, or area damage are the rolls, or are the affixes you want. So, I'm very lucky to have this, even though it is not nearly as good as it could be. This is still a low chance ring, and I'm happy to have it. I'm wearing a Halo of Arlyse. Ideally, you would rather be wearing a Convention of Elements here, and have crit, area damage, but hey, this works just fine, because all of the Convention of Elements I've seen couldn't roll as well as this has. So, there we go. For the bracers, Arcane, int, vit, crit. Pretty straightforward. You would rather have, the orange text amount as high as possible, but we deal with what we have. Unstable Scepter. These are the rolls you're looking for. You would rather have the numbers be higher, but you want area damage on your weapon. And you want int % damage and as high a damage range as you can get. This is pretty low to middling, but hey. And for the Triumvirate, again, you want area damage wherever you can get it. Not really. You would rather not have the APOC with this build, the arcane or critical arcane power on critical hit. Is where APOC comes from, because I'm sure somebody's very confused. But damage, int, crit, area damage, and vit would probably be the best ones you could get on that. Now, as for the cube, sort of gone over this, but Orb of Infinite Depth, you could alternatively run Triumvirate here and Orb of Infinite Depth here, that's fine. Aquila Cuirass, it's really what you want. Convention of Elements or Halo of Arlyse, whichever one you're not wearing here, having the cube here. So, we're going to give 55 a shot, now that I've been all kind of long-winded. One sort of word of warning. I'm bad, and not particularly well experienced with the wizard. But, yeah, it should be fine. 5. Let's move on, honestly. And you really do want to, like, get as much density as you can. So hopefully the yellow will follow me around here, and I can kind of pile these guys up, and just, yeah. So there's not, I mean, I was going to say there's not a lot to it, which is true and not true, I suppose. There is a pretty good amount that you're trying to keep straight and do in the right order and at the right time and all that kind of jazz, but realistically, this is not the most involved build you will probably ever partake of once you kind of understand what it is you're trying to do, which is explode arcane balls in people's face. Which, to be fair, I mean, that's what everybody's trying to do every day, right? No? Huh? Just me. Fair enough. So there are probably more ideal ways you could go about this. I'm sort of erring on the side of getting my stacks and my Arcane Blast stuff up sort of after I've gotten in range and sort of frozen things. It may be, in fact it probably is true that you're better off. Oh wow, I did not. I am shocked and appalled and amazed. So yeah, anyway, that is news that saddens me deeply. Anyway, yeah, it's probably true that you want to sort of get your other stuff going on sort of trash, and then be set up when you teleport on top of big mobs and elites. But I'm dealing with being bad. Ah, yes, that noted Canadian kindness. Please don't work hard at what you're doing. Please take time out to respond to my statements. I can wait. Mini time. Mini time? What? What is this hole in my head emitting? Yes. So, but, I mean, even though I'm pretty sure I'm not playing this anywhere near optimally, you can still see that there is a ton of damage potential, and yet, even though I'm bad, it really is not. I'm not really taking much in the way of damage. But yeah, I mean, I say that as I freak out and run away. But I mean, look, Molten is bad. Okay. Also, trying to kill things when you're not in your bubble. Yes, when you're not in your bubble is rough, and you should not do that. I say this because Mr. Canadian Spammer messaged me one day, "Why is my build being bad? I think I should be doing a lot more damage than I am with my ancient everything." And then it turns out that he was not actually casting slow time ever. Look, I don't claim to think that I'm better than other people, but you know, there are days where you're like, I may be better than some people. Nah, I'm kidding. We all make mistakes, and by we all, I mean I pretty much handle making all the mistakes. I did not know that Canada had a communist party. Then again, I'm not super up on communist parties anyway. Like, how many people can you invite? I mean, on the one hand, I want to say, like, I'm sorry that this is getting in the way of content I might otherwise be saying, you know, in terms of useful information. But at the same time, I'm unsure whether I would be doing a much better job of providing useful information if I was not being humored. Well, technically, I guess that would not... I guess you could describe being humored in many ways. As a matter of fact, I was. Here I am. Sitting here wearing DMO set, which gives big bonuses to bubbles. Hey, want to hear a dirty joke? That one guy. Look, it's been a while since I told this joke, okay? Everybody's looking at me. Want to hear a dirty joke? Alex took a bath with bubbles. See, get it? Because Bubbles was her... Look, no. Just stop. So on the plus side, a Rift Guardian that spawns or that spawns and then spawns guys, like Hamelin here, is awesome. What you really worry about is things that put out a ton of damage, especially if it's like damage that you can't get away from, like Blighter and Veracity. Those guys suck. You don't want to fight them. But anybody who, you know, can allow you to have enough enemies to make use out of your ancient Parthan defenders is awesome.
I am returning to town.
All very true. All very, very true. So, what was that? Oh, Unity. Oh, and a puzzle ring. Yay, I get to do a vault. Oh, and because, like, I've run into people online who don't know this. Okay, if you don't know this and you happen to be watching, don't throw away puzzle rings. Put them in the cube. Right? Put them in the cube, hit transmute, and it opens a vault. Go to the vault. Get stuff. Get loot. So, yeah, that wasn't too terribly bad, considering how bad I am and how poorly I was playing. But, yeah, hopefully that gives you an idea of how this particular DMO build works. Yeah, I don't know if there's, like, interest in that, but if there, I'll probably put together something about the other build, sort of around the Twisted Sword and Energy Twister, and yeah, we'll see about that later though. For now, thanks for watching, folks, and I will see you later.